To say an actor is one who does westerns and not porno films is to be, I mean, acting is so it's a vast art form. I mean, you can act in anything from commercials to children's shows to adult films.
Hi, I'm Tom Cottle. The term actor itself has many connotations, one of which is performer. And in turn, the term performer has many connotations, as there are many ways that a man and a woman can perform. Today, a conversation with a man, controversial to some degree, a performer and an actor. Said very simply, this man is the king of American pornographic films, and his name is Harry Reems. I have to say, Harry.
The king, I've been called the grandfather at this point.
Oh.
The industry being so young, and me having begun in its embryonic stages, I am really one of the
You
pioneers.
don't look like any grandfather I know.
Of course not, but
How old are you, Harry?
35.
35. You know, this is a show, quite frankly. This conversation. There are 43,000 questions in my mind. 26,000 probably will be censored. Some will come out to fight. And you are aware of this, and you know about this.
Of course.
The world, it seems to me, Harry, can be divided right now in this moment into groups of people, two groups. One who want to know, why do you do it? Mm-hmm. And the other group who are probably asking, how does he do it? How do you do it? I want to start, we'll start with the easier one first. And
which one is the easier one? That's
for me, it's easier to ask you, why do you do it? You're in a controversial business.
I started back in the late 60s, before I Am Curious Yellow really sort of opened the closet doors, if I can use the term, to exhibition of explicit materials on the big screen. Prior to that, it was all stag films sold in bookstores. I was a member of the National Shakespeare Company and needed to supplement an income, and an actor who shall remain unnamed because he's quite respected and quite renowned in the New York theater, had been doing these for some 15 years.
Why do you keep him unnamed?
Well, I wouldn't want to jeopardize his integrity or his the dignity of his profession. And there is a very negative stigma attached to anybody who appears in the kind of films I do. So rather than irresponsibly violate someone's professional standing, I prefer to leave him unnamed.
Good.
He was the one who recommended that I do it. And I had all the fears and apprehensions, anxieties, and in fact at first said no. Went and did it, discovered I enjoyed it. And that is why I continue to do it. I enjoy it. Whether that's a need for exhibitionism, or whether it's the sexual gymnastics of the form, or whether it's just the anonymity of the encounters.
Gymnastics, man, you are in the business of veritable track meet. Let's get this right. I'll ask it right out. Do you have some special biological gift, sir? Are you...
What's my secret?
What's your secret?
Eggshells, boiled eggshells, people. No, there is no secret. I think it's an attitude. We are ingrained with a conditioning over generations and generations, centuries in fact, to believe that sex is shameful, wrong, dirty, and shouldn't be indulged in unless for the proliferation of the race or for the boundaries of matrimony. And I think that's inconsistent with our basic instinctual behavior patterns. Fortunately, I grew up in a family that did not have that negative sexual breeding. I was from a more liberal conditioning. And so there was never the fear or the shame or the guilt about sexuality. There was a responsible educational process to warn me of the obvious dangers, whether they be social disease or unwanted pregnancy. And we were never really, when I say we, my family, my brother, my sister, we were never really led to believe that it was wrong. So there was no real guilt or shame when I did get involved in it.
Back in a moment then, with a star in his own right, in a way, an actor, performer, Mr. Harry Reems. Don't go away. Hi, we are back. My guest, Harry Reems, whose recent film is Society Affairs.
Correct.
Right?
First film of the genre I've done in 8 years.
All right, so now I'm going to put that one aside, because that begs yet another question. Namely, why you come out. But let's go back to family. Tell me briefly now about this background out of which you come. Mother and a father, brother and a sister, a father who died when you were young, no?
My goodness, you do your homework.
Well, people do it for me exactly as it was when I was in school.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, my father passed away when I was still a teenager. My mother was a dancer, a model, a concert pianist. My brother is a choreographer. We have had connections to the arts all our lives. So it is not as though I came from suburban Westchester with intentions of becoming a dentist and suddenly disappointed everybody and went into a field that is just renowned for its lack of income.
Acting.
Acting, exactly, yeah. I've been raised to be honest and truthful to myself and to everyone else. That is to say, within the family structure. For instance, when I broke the news to my family over a Thanksgiving dinner that I was doing these films...
How old were you then, Harry? That's a while back.
That's 1968.
That's 14 years ago?
Yeah, 21, 22 years
22.
old. The family immediately broke into hysteria, wanting to know all about the business, as opposed to, my God, the neighbors are going to get all upset. How dare you embarrass me with, which would be the normal response, I assume.
You never heard from your family, no, we disown you. No, you can't do it.
My mother wanted to come to Memphis, Tennessee when I was being prosecuted by the federal government and picket in front of the court. She is to this day one of my best and dearest friends.
Did people turn away from you, Harry, when you said, I'm going to do this? Did someone say, well, no good, that means you're...
When you say people, do you mean friends, associates?
Yeah.
Some within, my peers within the theater did. Some. The ones who do not live one-dimensional lives and just typecast and pigeonhole people went on to continue to get to know me as a person. Others simply said, you are that kind of person, therefore you are not this kind of person. You are not an actor, you are a sexual exhibitionist. And so you do not have the right to be on a stage with professionals. It happened very little, and usually with those pretentious people who themselves did not go on to attain real professional standing. So it did happen. I mean, there were people in my acting circle, and I was very active in the off-Broadway movement in the 60s with La Mama and the New York Theater Ensemble and National Shakespeare Company's Experimental Center. There were those who simply said, what you're doing is undignified and a disgrace to the acting profession.
Say I say that to you, Harry.
I would say that you're being a very closed-minded artist. I mean, for an artist to say, don't focus on one form of expression is to censor. I would say you're not an artist, you're a closed-minded bigot. You play devil's advocate, and this would be my answer. I'm very outspoken in my feelings.
Okay, let's go on with it. You're not an actor. You really are just a sexual exhibitionist.
I would say you're wrong. I would say look at my credits just this last year.
What credits are you going to show me?
I just did a play directed by Austin Pendleton, who directed Liz Taylor in The Little Foxes. Another play with Joel Crothers called The Office Murders, off-Broadway here in New York. A small part on the Mae West Story for ABC, a number of movies of the week, and a lot of European film production, independent film production.
Let me keep the devil advocacy position.
Yeah, please do.
Go, Harry.
Please do.
Yeah, and you're very responsible and very lovely and open about this, and I appreciate that.
You take me home to mother?
What? Would I take you home to my mother? My mother. I don't know how
Alas,
my
a
mother,
real man has come into my life.
I don't know how my mother would take to this. Say I say to you, you forfeited your rights to be considered a serious actor in light of what you do.
I don't think serious actor is the proper terminology. To say an actor is one who does westerns and not porno films is to be, I mean, acting is So it's a vast art form. I mean, you can act in anything from commercials to children's shows, to adult films, to industrials. Acting is not limited to simply sitcom on the networks.
But you're perpetuating, he goes on, you're perpetuating junk. You're perpetuating bad food for thought. You're perpetuating pornography. We don't call it films per se, we say pornography.
I would say you are closed-minded. I would say you are bigoted. I would say that you are judging. You are an elitist to judge what is filth, what is pornography, what is obscene, what is distasteful, what is unwanted. I would say that you are making a judgment for others as opposed to yourself. Freedom of expression means each and every individual. What is junk to you might be gold to another.
Is it gold to you, these films?
Literally,
Is it money?
literally and
money?
figuratively. Literally and figuratively.
Literally, I know.
Literally, money-wise, figuratively, I think I have gone through a maturation process, whether it's a coming of age or whether it's from the exorbitant amount of sexual encounters that I've experienced. I am somewhat sophisticated in the area of sex, both in its activity and in its research. I mean, I do a lot of lecturing to colleges and universities, so I do study the various demographics in the area of sexual research.
I want to move on, but I want to cling just to this notion of inside the world of Harry Reems. Not Harry Reems, the actor, but the man.
Right. Very little distinction, which, by the way.
Is that
between
true?
the two.
Oh, that's
yes.
an important point.
Yeah, I don't believe my own PR and I don't play star. My field is not an entertainment field, really. It is a form of voyeurism, sold pretentiously in movie theaters.
Back in a moment then with Harry Reems. Hi, Tom Cottle, and I'm speaking with Harry Reems. Harry Reems of Society Affairs. No, I didn't say that right.
Well, of X-rated film.
Of X-rated film.
Stardom with a new film called Society Affairs.
Society Affairs, right. How do you answer the charge that a lot of pornographic films so far are very, very sexist? They're right into make a man feel good and use the woman.
Absolutely, and it goes back to the conditioning. They are sexist. It is exploitive of women. It is a male-oriented industry catering to male sexual fantasies supported by male-earned dollars. Therefore, the woman is almost invariably always put in a posture to gratify the man. And that is one-sided, lopsided. I think that's going to change, though. It's got to change.
But you're party to that. You're part of that.
I have been a party to that in the past.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why I've come back, to maybe affect some change.
Why did you come back after 8 years?
Because of a little frustration with not being able to make a transition into more conventional forms.
Why not? What stopped you?
I think again that theory that I represent irresponsible programming, the potential loss of revenues, affiliates dropping a show, theater chains in the South possibly not playing a film because they're afraid of the flat. Nonetheless, I get small parts. I get 1-day, 2-day, 3-day jobs. But I've never featured or starred. It would be a stunt on the part of the network. So I think, I'm looking at it objectively. So I decided, go back into the business that you have been in the past, that you've gained your notoriety from. There is a technological revolution coming about. Try and affect some change. I am in a negotiating position with the very few distributors in this industry where I can control the content.
You've had an enormous number. I think the adjective you used was inordinate number of sexual excursions and adventures. That means lots of women in your life.
All right.
Does that mean that?
I would define that as such.
Like thousands of women,
Well,
hundreds of women, lots and lots and lots of women.
I lead a very
more in a year than I've had in my 40.
I do not prescribe to the notion of marriage, which says that we are a monogamous society, and really our intimate sexual lives should be limited to just one.
You've been married ever?
No. I am very active in my sexual life. I enjoy the variety, if you will. There's a lot to be said for anonymous sex. There's a lot you can have as pleasurable an experience with a complete stranger who the chemistry is right as you can with someone you've been married to 20 years.
How about those other funny words?
Such as?
Oh, they're silly words. One of them is...
Promiscuous sex?
No.
Frivolous?
No, I was thinking of even sillier words, like intimacy and love.
I think that sex can be an expression, a means of communication without a word spoken, to express not intimacy and love, but maybe caring and communication. Intimacy and love. I don't think sex has very much to do with love. Love comes from years and years of nurturing a friendship.
Do I see that in your pornographic films? What you
Very
just said?
little of it. Very little of it.
What I just see is people getting off on one another.
Right, which is as valid as love and marriage.
That's valid.
Yes, and as healthy as marriage and sex within marriage. There is, because people in love themselves, let's say you're in love with somebody for 20 years, right?
Well, okay.
And you have a
It happens
wonderful
to be
sex,
true.
and you have a wonderful sexual life.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
You're in a terrible car accident. You lose both your legs, and you're no longer able to function sexually. Does your wife leave you? Does she stop loving you because you can no longer have sex? Sex is just a physical way of expressing a caring, a concern, and a liking for someone.
Have you been in love?
I've been in love, yes.
Are you in love now?
With about 3 or 4 people who I care very much for. Different degrees of love, different types of love. Some manifest themselves with sex, some not.
Do you ever get lonely? Do you a man that gets
very
lonely?
Much so. I'm now beginning of my early middle ages, want companionship. I know no one likes sleeping alone. So maybe I'm beginning to think about possibly taking on a relationship.
Well, wait a minute now.
Not the kind of relationship one assumes, the definition of marriage as we know it. More of an open relationship. Again, the sex is not what creates the love. It's just another form of expressing
You're looking
love.
for a companion.
Yeah. I am just now beginning at 35, they're getting close to 36 years old, to not want to go and search out complete strangers and have sexual activity with them because I don't get to know them.
Okay, you were saying somebody to sleep with, someone who will
To share my life.
Who will know you.
Who I can expose my vulnerabilities, who I can share the hard times and the good times
Give me
with.
some of the flavor of these vulnerabilities, Harry.
And they are as rampant as they are with anybody. You know, we
No,
all...
I don't know about anybody. I just want to know about you.
The vulnerabilities. What makes me feel... oh, where's my script? I'm an actor, for God's sakes.
No, that's why I want to get you away.
Yeah, I mean, you're asking very probing questions, and I
trying.
appreciate it. It's refreshing. I've been answering the same silly questions all the last 3 weeks. The vulnerabilities that I probably suffer are loneliness, are being stymied, pigeonholed into one arena. They are, people assume I'm a 6'8", gigantic hunk of flesh who can't put 2 words together. These things hurt.
I have a few more questions for you, sir. Okay? So relax one moment. We'll take a break, then back with more with Mr. Harry Reems. So don't go away now. We are back, and I'm speaking with Harry Reems. Harry, are you going to get married?
I assume someday. If not, I'll have a relationship that will endure. I have relationships that endure all the time. They just change.
Will you have children?
I certainly hope so.
You don't have children now.
None that I know of. That was not meant to be frivolous. Well, it was meant to be frivolous.
Well, it was frivolous.
I corrected myself.
Okay.
I have self-esteem.
Will you have children?
I can't
Do you
answer
want
that.
children?
I want children, yes. I would love to have children.
You'd love to have children.
Yes.
Can you, in thinking about these children, this is, out of my mentality, because sometimes...
Everything's from each
It
of our
all
point
is
of
out of
view.
my mentality. I mean, I'm asking for
We
my
all
mentality.
speak from our own point of view.
Exactly. Can the kid go to school? and tell his friends, her friends, what Daddy does for a living?
If he respects me and he wants to, I'd certainly not tell him not to do something.
No, but would he, would she, would you worry about such a thing?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, what's the difference between somebody going to school and saying, my dad's a bus driver, and another kid was coming up and saying, well, my dad's a senator in the U.S., in Washington.
Oh,
I mean,
Harry, come on. There's a great deal of difference between a kid going to school and saying, my father's a United States senator, a bus driver, or he works for the telephone company, and my dad is...
A porno actor?
Is a porno actor.
Then we're putting a negative connotation once again on sex. The negative connotation belongs on the commercialization of sex. Now, granted, I am involved in the commercialization of what really, in effect, is free. And therein lies the irony. I mean, if you think my thinking through, and I talk about dropping all the laws in the area, about making people want to communicate with each other rather than buying aids to fulfill their narcissistic tendencies or have those moments privately, I'm talking about the demise of my own industry, if you really think it through. Mm-hmm. At that point, I'll put on my wingtip shoes and sell used cars. I don't know.
Thank you, Harry Reems, for coming to speak with me. Maybe there's another chance.
I
We'll do
hope
it
so.
again.
I really enjoyed this.
And the best of luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining Harry Reems and me. I will not now give a disquisition on sexuality. Harry Reems did it better than I could do it. Controversial indeed. There's nothing wrong with controversy. Something for us to think about. I will see you the next time. Take care of yourselves. Thank you again.
Yeah.
Promotional consideration has been paid for by the following. The Tom Cottle Show was recorded in the Governor's Suite at the New York Statler, a Dunphy Hotel in New York City. For reservations at any of the fine Dunphy hotels, call toll-free 1-800-228-2121. Trust Listerine. Listerine is strong to give you clean breath that lasts hours. Listerine Antiseptic kills the germs that can cause bad breath. New Campho-Phenique Lip Balm, the medicated protection stick that moisturizes and helps protect your lips from sun and wind. From the makers of Campho-Phenique Antiseptic. From the new Sarah Coventry, classic ingots and chains fashioned from the world's most precious metal, platinum. Beautiful and enduring platinum from the new Sarah Coventry.